Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to a new video on the Proofs of Prophethood series. This video is kind of connected to video number 11 in the series, so if you haven't seen that yet, then I suggest checking that out before carrying on. The challenge of the Quran is to bring something like it in eloquence. And even though the Prophet, peace be upon him, was among the Meccans, his enemies, for around 13 years, and they oppressed him, and they wrote poetry against him, however, they didn't even attempt to bring something like it. That's why the challenge of the Quran was successful, since no one even attempted to take on the challenge. For more on this subject, please do check out my video on Sabur Ahmed's channel, How to Prove the Quran is a Miracle. In any case, a question comes to the mind of skeptics. How do we know that the challenge was never met? Well, if there was another Quran that matched the Quran, we would have definitely heard about it in the same way that we heard of the Quran. The skeptic would then ask, but isn't it possible that Muslims that were victorious rewrote history and silenced those that spoke of another Quran? Al-Qadi Abdul Jabbar answers that question by pointing out that people of sound intellect don't even try. They do not see a point of doing such a thing because it's pretty much impossible to silence such a thing. When the Prophet, peace be upon him, came with his message, claimed to be a prophet, started to tell people that they're upon this belief, was there any way for this message to be contained? No, on the contrary, Quraysh were actually the ones that were warning people about the Prophet, peace be upon him, unintentionally playing a role in spreading his message. That's just the nature of these things. Similarly, news that was used against the Prophet, peace be upon him, against his family, news of the poetry that was written against him, was that information contained by Muslims? Were they able to silence those voices? That was impossible as well. There were people that claimed to be prophets at his time and after his time, and all that information reached us too. Muslim historians not only preserved information that was used by Muslims, but also information that was used against Islam. The same information that's used by anti-Islam apologists today is the same information that was preserved by Muslim historians. What about polemical material that was written against Islam? That too was being circulated during the golden ages of Islam. The works of Al-Haddad, Al-Warraq, Al-Kindi, people who rejected the existence of God and rejected the prophets. Their works were available to the Muslim public, were available at marketplaces even though the Muslims hated their stuff. Some of them, out of fear of Muslims, would write these works anonymously and slowly start to circulate them within the marketplace. There was no stopping them. Even today, I've personally seen Orientalist work that's not available in Arabic being translated by Muslim Arabs for a Muslim Arab audience, of course with the intention to eventually refute it. So if anything like the Quran, anything that matched the Quran was brought forward, you would have Muslims reacting to it, refuting it, some sort of news about it. However, there's nothing, because it never happened. The whole winners write history claim doesn't really apply to Islamic history if you know enough about Islamic history. When the Umayyads came, they couldn't make Muawiyah greater than he was. He was one of the Tulaqa. They couldn't make him like a Muhajir or an Ansari. They couldn't make him someone who gave the pledge under the tree. Muawiyah was seen as a low-ranking Muslim in comparison to all those that came to Islam before him. The Umayyads couldn't wipe away the merits of Ali either. And when the Abbasids came to power, they couldn't wipe away the merits of Bani Umayyah. Nor could they hide away their own faults from being documented. Now, I'm going to repeat this one last time because it's really important. Almost every argument that's used against Islam today is through reports that are preserved by Muslims themselves. These Muslims intentionally preserved this information. And how did they react to the Quran's challenge being met? There was no reaction because it never happened. See you guys in the next one. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.